Hey everybody, this is Brett with the Indie Comics Dispatch, and broadcasting from an undisclosed location deep within the Milky Way galaxy, this is Broadcast from the Dispatch.
If you got a story and you want the world to know it, if you think you ready and you ain't afraid to show it, throw your hands up high, yeah, we might stand out. We always representing cause that's what it's all about. We always representing cause that's what it's all about. And if you love some indie comics, let me hear you shout. Like, just stay tuned, what's the story? Had to get that every time a brand new indie comic from the Dispatch.
Hey everybody, welcome to another Tuesday night of Broadcast from the Dispatch. I am Brett with Indie Comics Dispatch, if you missed the opening. If you're out there watching this, or you're backstage before I put you on stage, share the stream, share it places so people can see. If you are listening to this on the podcast version after the live stream, we thank you. If you could rate us and comment and share the podcast, we would appreciate that also, because the more you share, the more people get to see Broadcast from the Dispatch, hear Broadcast from the Dispatch, and the more they get to connect with the great creators that we feature. It's not just about more people listening, it's about connecting audience with creators, fans with their comic book that they don't know they love yet. So share, care, do that sort of stuff. Couple housekeeping items here before we get going. Brian is not here tonight. He abandoned me. No, he's recording an episode of the Facts Project with Grandmaster Facts tonight, and so he is doing that. Look for that episode of that podcast to drop probably within a few days. He's usually pretty good at dropping those pretty fast. So Grandmaster Facts, you can find it on iTunes, the Facts Project, FAQS. Look for that and listen to that. Wingless Comics does have a Kickstarter going right now. If you don't know, it's been all over social, partially because of me. And so if you haven't seen that yet, check it out. You can go to Wingless ENT, stands for winglessentertainment.com/Kickstarter. It'll take you right to the Kickstarter page, winglessent.com/Kickstarter, and you can support that project. I'll drop that link again later. But for now, I want to move into thanking patrons. We've been on a big patron push. I was just telling Jason before the show started, year three, we're officially in year 3 of Indie Comics Dispatch, and for year 3 we're concentrating on reach and revenue. So we want to reach more people than we've ever reached. Again, that's for exposing people to the vast variety of indie comics that are out there, connecting creators with an audience, again, fans with the next book they don't know they love yet. And so we want to reach more people. To do that, we need revenue. But that's it. The great thing is we don't need much. We don't need a ton of revenue. You can support Indie Comics Dispatch for as little as $3 a month on Patreon. You can also make a one-time donation on indiecomicsdispatch.com. Just click on the donate link on the kind of upper right-hand corner of the page there. But what we really love is seeing new patrons, because knowing what's coming in every month helps us plan. And in fact, right before we went live, we got a brand new patron. I'm probably going to mess up this name, and I'm so sorry. Brandon DePillis. I'm sure it's not DePillis. I'm horrible at names, y'all. But I do want to go through and thank all of our patrons. So we have Brandon, brand new patron. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you for joining on with the Dispatch. We have Celeste Cornish. We have Dan Schmidt, Jason. I'm not. You know who you are, Jason. I'm not going to butcher that last name. Brandon Foster, Aaron Guzman, Brian Lambert, and Quentin Rushing are all patrons on the monthly level. So thank you guys so much. We have really been boosting up our Patreon lately. There's new exclusive patron only posts on indiecomicsdispatch.com. You can only access those by signing in through Patreon and then going to Indie Comics Dispatch. So you get bonus content that way. And I'm not going to announce it yet, but I think we have a few other special surprises coming down the line for Patreon. I just got to wait to hear back on a couple things first. So stay tuned. More is to come from Patreon. Tonight, we were just talking creative process. We were talking with creators. We're going to drop the link in the comments later. If you want to join the show, you can join the show. But I'm going to introduce the people who are here first. We already got a pretty good panel of people. So first, my favorite of the Jason Alexanders I know, Jason Alexander, Fogbreaker Studios. Hey, Jason. Good. How are you tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. Staying busy on the grind,
Good.
Making it happen.
Good. And next we have, with the goodest of boys, he's got a brand new puppy dog. We'll see how the stream goes. Alex Sorvello. Hello, sir.
Alex,
hey, how are you doing?
Good. Is that a Hubble image behind you?
That is the deep view.
The way to my heart. So we have two more guests I'm going to jump on in just a minute here. But first, I said it in the team chat earlier, but these two books came for me this week.
So good.
You're
and
welcome.
I only bought them because of you two. Because
some of my favorites.
So good.
Separately, you both scored. I think you did 1997, didn't you, Jason? And Alex,
I
you
did
1975. But separately, you both scored them super high. In fact, when Alec first submitted his review, I was like, Alec, bro, no, these scores aren't right. Like, you can't do this. And he was like, no, Brett, this is the best book.
Yeah, it was like one of my favorite indies I've read in a long time. It was super good.
Well, it's been on my radar since then. And then when Jason came back with the high review on the other one, I was like, well, holy shit, I just got to get these now.
I went into all five with full confidence. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. If Brett kicks it back, that's fine. It'll be my own personal joy. I feel like I'm right on this one.
Well, they're both real good.
So totally. I'm excited to read them. Great black and white artwork in there. Gary Hodges, if you didn't see the cover, it's Dinosaurs versus Mars Bots, right? I think I got that right. Yep. There's 1975 and 1997. I think he's working on a third volume right now.
I think he's got a couple. I think he's got a couple in there.
Yeah.
At the end of the book, I'm pretty sure it says like these other classified files.
Yeah.
Which is pretty neat. So yeah.
That's somebody we have to get on the air soon is Gary.
Yeah, Gary's a good chat. You'll enjoy talking with Gary. He's awesome.
Awesome. Another person I always like having on the show, another book that has phenomenal black and white artwork. Dan Schmidt, Worms Crawl In. Hello, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening. I always take the chance to go on about your book whenever I can.
I pay you, right?
You do. I mean, you are a patron. So there is that. A phenomenal book. If you don't know about Worms Crawl In, wormscrawlin.com. Is that right, Dan? They can go there and order it.
That's right. Yep.
All right. And then finally this evening from Constant Hustle Comics, if you looked closely in the intro, you can see a couple of his books shining through there. Lawrence King. Oh, shit. There you are, Lawrence.
How y'all doing now?
How's it going?
Good. Like, I don't want to call you out live on the air, Lawrence, but I have had a friend request waiting on you for decades. Yes.
Oh man,
that's effed up, Lawrence.
Lawrence and I are both part of Wingless Comics together. I'm just giving him a hard time. I really don't care.
Oh man, I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry about that. I never really check them, to be honest.
That's fine. I just noticed today. I think when I responded to your message and clicked on your profile to see what you had going, I was like, waiting for confirmation.
That's my bad, bro. That's my bad.
Lawrence, I want to let you go first because you have an active campaign going on. So let's talk about what you got going on, and then we'll dive into kind of the creative process behind everybody's books and such.
Okay. Constant Hustle Comics has Eviction Bellum Book 2 going on right now, and it's the end of the Eviction Bellum story arc. It's about between 60 and 70 pages. Not to be included with the first book that was about 85 pages. So it's about 150 pages altogether. Wow. And we're working with a Marvel artist for the big wraparound for the to put the whole thing together. And it's basically what an Eviction Bellum event is. It's for supervillains to reach, for anyone to reach a celestial level in our multiverse, they have to basically destroy a world and have to present that in front of one of the other Celestials. And if they agree, then they can become one themselves. So these supervillains are playing God with a bunch of our superheroes and pitting worlds against each other.
That's really cool. Now, I read book 1, which was really good. And it gave me here, I'm sharing the screen. Like, can everybody see that? Yeah, there we go. It gave me like that first, I know DC's on the like 12th crisis or whatever now, but it gave me that Crisis on Infinite Earths feel to it, reading the first one.
Right. It almost seems that way because just to give away a little bit of the book, some of our heroes don't know one another. So when they meet for the first time, they meet and don't realize that they're heroes. So in a normal situation where you wouldn't have, think of it like like Batman versus Superman, them not knowing one another, and then all of a sudden realizing that they're both basically on the same side. So it becomes that type of situation.
I like it. I like it a lot. So I'm sorry, I had the other tab. Was somebody going to say something?
No,
I thought I heard somebody say. Okay, sorry.
I say it looks good, but
thank you. I really appreciate that.
So how does this event reconfigure or change? Like, what can you say about how this event affects the Constant Hustle universe? Because you are kind of bringing everybody together, kind of for the first time in this story.
Well, what it does is the way Dwayne Welch, one of our creators, brought the idea to me, and for me, it's not enough. I'll make sure I say this right so I don't get any hate mail in the morning. It's not enough to just write a story about your hero. You know, my hero started out as a teenager in high school, and now he's an Avenger, and that's just how it went, and that's just what it is. When Dwayne brought this to me, I told all the rest of the creators, okay, whoever's going to give him characters to use, know that the trajectory of your character is going to change after this event. In my opinion, it only makes them better creators, and myself included, because I've got a few of my characters involved in it. It only makes us better creators because now we have to deal with the either limitations or the expectations of your characters since this whole situation has happened. So each one of our books will either be labeled BE before eviction or AE after eviction. So you'll know what's happening after that. So yeah, there will be changes to the characters. Some characters won't be around anymore. So yeah, it's definitely going to be something. That's the beauty about this medium, in my opinion. You can have a character that you were like red hot about for a while, and you're like, you know what? I thought of another idea, which I always do this, but I thought of another idea, and I don't know what to do with this character now. All right, well, we can figure out what to do with him in this. And Dwayne had the daunting task of taking, I mean, there has to be over 15 superheroes in the book total. And he didn't just take somebody in there and say, okay, your guy's going to jump in on page 60 and he'll have his neck broke by page 68. I mean, he really took the time to figure out everybody's, motivations and everything. It was a lengthy process, and he did an amazing job with it.
That's awesome.
There's no better feeling as like a writer when you are working with an artist and the artist is like, okay, so how's he supposed to be feeling here? Like or like I said something to Ryan once, who works on my third issue, and he's like, I was like, oh, don't you think what if we like bring this guy's head through the next panel? He's like, no, we can't show his face because he doesn't want to be doing this. And I'm like, you know what? Thanks, Ryan. You're 100% right.
That's awesome.
It was so good. So I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Lawrence knows this. I like big crossover things. Like I like big events, and that's one thing that I think that indie comics misses sometimes is those big fun things, and that sometimes are overdone maybe in mainstream, but underdone in indie. And so it's cool to see that. It's cool to see that.
Well, we figured, well, there's a couple of schools of thought with it. One school of thought is that, well, maybe you should wait until your characters are a lot more well known before you have them in a crossover event. But no one can foretell what the future is going to bring. And I'm already an old man, so I don't want to be 65 years old just finally doing a crossover event. So when Dwayne came to me and was like, "Hey man, let's do this, let's do that," it only makes it, it only makes the universe stronger. It only makes the stories more compelling, which at the end of the day is our drive to make the stories compelling. Right. Yep. That's it. So that's all we really cared about. And one of the tiers is, if you don't know who the characters are, if you don't know this or know that, you can get their books. It's all digital. You can get each and every one of the characters' books or whatever they're involved in, and then get Eviction Bellum book 1 and 2, and then you'll be all caught up. You'll be fine.
That's awesome. And from what I remember, your tiers aren't that bad priced, right? I mean, like, no. For the digital catch-ups was amazing, I think. Like,
right. The digital catch-up, that's what I was just talking about. And that's you got to figure it is digital, but you've got the 150 pages of Eviction Bellum book 1 and 2, and then you've got at least 6 other books.
Yeah, wow. It's $20, and you're getting like probably well over 250 pages of content there. That's amazing.
Yeah. So, more, like I said, more than anything, we just want to get this book out there and in people's hands, and we want people clamoring for the next time we have something. That's that's our our big. I'm still, this being my company, I'm still navigating how to have that I like to call it indie superstar status. Some indie creators will have a Kickstarter come out and it's funded in an hour. And I'm not talking about funded in an hour for $500. I'm talking about like $5,000 funded in an hour. And they're just coming up with shit to give people for stretch goals because they just ran out of shit to do. We're looking for that status. So after this one happens, we're trying to figure out. I'm like I said, I'm still trying to navigate how to put us at that level. So that's what we're looking for. So when people look back at this, and then even when they see, like, I'll probably have. Once the wraparound cover is all done and everything like that, probably, well, I shouldn't say probably, definitely months from now, I'll have our the whole trade, the whole 150 pages on Indiegogo or something like that, so people can jump on there and get that as a whole. So, but we're trying to make this happen, man. We want to get our stuff in everybody's hands, and we want people to, we want our name to be known as one of the way we, or one of our taglines is small in size, but not in production. So you may not realize, that there's only a few of us, but when you read our books, it's just like reading any comic book that you would get in a regular comic book store.
I love it.
You took it well on your way, though. 49 backers in a day. That's pretty good.
We're trying, man. We're trying.
When you figure out that superstar status, you let us know how you did it, right?
Yeah, exactly. You get a book and sell it.
I'm just saying, man. Some of you, I don't know. You guys have to know people that are like that. They're on, and then like I'll go to sleep. They'll start at 8:00 at night. I'll go to sleep. I'll wake up in the morning and see, hey, we're funded. I'm like, fuck me.
Sebastian from Stranger Comics, as soon as he hits launch, he's funded most of the time. I'm like, damn it, man.
Yeah.
I have dropped the link, Lawrence, in the comment section on Facebook and YouTube. You guys can also look for the project Eviction Bellum. There's not a whole lot of books called Eviction Bellum on Kickstarter, so it's very easy to find.
Right.
So if you can't click the link for some reason,
I'm definitely interested. It sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Thank
Book
you
1
so
was
much.
good and very intricate. I'm looking forward to some of those stories weaving back together in book 2 and seeing the conclusion. Book 1 was a good read, though.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Switch gears for a minute right now because we have somebody else here. Not a campaign going on, but production going on. Dan, how's Worms Crawl In 2 going?
Oh, it's going well. I got my first chapter done, so it's drawn. It's gray toned. Did all the lettering, so it's in the can. Really excited about that.
Awesome.
Hopefully, spend the rest of this year getting through the rest of it. I'm estimating it's probably going to be about an 80-page graphic novel, about half the size of my other one, Worms Crawl In, but still a pretty good sized book.
Yeah, great size.
Yeah, and I'm just really excited about it. It's some of the best work, in my opinion, that I've been putting out. So I'm taking a little extra time and making sure that the art is right. I spent a couple of years doing the story since I finished Worms Crawl In October of 2020. So really excited about this.
Yeah, so take us through your process a little bit there. As we're going to be talking about the creative process, take us through your process of, first of all, I think, if I might be mistaken, but I don't think like you never had in mind a sequel to begin with, right? Like, so this idea was something that happened after you were done?
I didn't. It was, like a lot of graphic novels, it's a self-contained story. It's done, essentially. It got great reviews, got some great feedback from people. That seems to really catch on for the people who like it. So I thought I'd put out one more with the same characters. This is a little bit different than what you would normally expect from like a sequel or something like that. So normally you have a book, and then the sequel is the events that happen right after it or right before it or something like that. It's on a linear path. I'm going down instead of sideways. So this is taking a moment that's in Worms Crawl In and then kind of expanding on that world, and it's building out an entire novel based on a moment from the first one.
I love that idea. I love that. Very cool.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm not very good at is drawing like vehicles and cars and motorcycles and things like that. If there's any other artists around listening or on the panel, you probably know what I'm talking about. It takes a lot of time and effort to try and get it right, to get it to look proper. It's really easy to kind of screw up those vehicles. I'd like to think of it kind of like lettering, right? If you have bad lettering, it kind of takes you out of the moment and distracts you from the rest of the book. So if you're drawing like a bad car or something like that, it just looks awkward on the page and you're like, oh, that doesn't look right. Right. So it takes you out of the page. So for me, for what I do is I have this process for my hardware, for my vehicles and things like that. So I have this little collection of die-cast metal vehicles, right?
That's
so I got
awesome.
like cars, I have motorcycles, I have trucks, I have like airplanes, things like that. So what I do is, this is a matte cutting board. If you can see it, there's a grid on there, right? So I take my matte cutting board and I put my vehicles on top of it. And the lines give me great perspective, so I can see the proper perspective for the surroundings. If it's in like a city scene or something like that, I'll just set up some boxes, like tissue boxes or something like that, where the buildings would be. I set up all the lighting so I have the shadows where I want it, and then I take a picture of it. Take that picture, print out a little car the way I need it to be. It's got the grid lines on there and everything. Right? There's the airplane, right? And then I use that to transfer onto my board. And the end product kind of looks like this.
That's really cool.
Right? So I take
that is so fucking smart.
I touch it up a little bit in Photoshop, and then I just transfer it to my board, and I got my vehicles.
Cool. So awesome.
Yeah.
That's
so
nice.
A lot of times, especially in comic book art, time is so important, right? Especially in independent small press. we don't have a lot of time. We have to make the most of it. So like I said, rather than sitting there and struggling with like perspective lines and French curves and all that stuff, or trying to do it with like in Photoshop and all that, I take the pictures, I transfer it on there, and I'm done. So that's my process for drawing vehicles.
That's awesome. It's funny you mentioned vehicles. Gary Hodges just said evening all in the chat. I don't know if he's still here or if he popped out. But one of the first things I noticed about when I popped open his books when I got him was check out that vehicle. I mean, the vehicles in his book are amazing. And so I wonder if he uses a similar process. What's that, Alec?
Everything in those books are so clean.
Right.
Chris, yes.
Yeah.
So clean.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I just dropped the link in the chat for other people who may or may not want to join. Anybody can stay as long as you want and contribute to the conversation, or leave whenever you need to leave. It's cool. But we're going to talk a little bit about creative process. So as people start to join, we'll add them in a minute. But let's talk a little bit, Jason and Alec, whoever wants to kind of go first, about your creative process. About you get an idea for a story. What happens next?
You go first, Jason.
All right. So I guess from a writer's perspective, in writing horror, a lot of times you kind of have to figure out how hard you want to ride the line. Like, is this super shocking or is it subtle? And if it's subtle, how do you make sure, like, if you feel like you got to explain it too much, you know what I mean? Like you kind of have to go back to the drawing board on it to kind of like make sure it hits the point, even if it's quiet. But a lot of times I go into I kind of feel like the RZA, you know, it's like I go into crates. It's like, what movies make me feel this way? What have I read that makes me feel this way? And like for emotion, a lot of the times I find myself reading back on Identity Crisis. Because that was just such an intense book for characters in DC that really don't get a lot of light. Yeah. And that book had some very grim aspects to it. And it was, you know, it was all the happy characters at the beginning of that story. And a lot of my stuff, especially my cult stuff, is not very, like, it's not pleasant on purpose. Like, it's kind of squirmy on purpose. So I like to go through and almost create a visual library of storytelling. I guess that's the best way to describe it. Mm-hmm. Just looking for emotion and how things make you feel. Sometimes even if it's not connected to your subject matter, you know, because it is different. You can't find a reference picture for a feeling all the time. So it's a challenge, but if you put the time in, it's always worth it.
I like that. I like that a lot. Alec?
Yeah, I definitely have things where I like, if I see a type of story I like, oh, I want to write something like that. Like, I don't know, I watched a Love, Death, Robots the other day, the new volume, the pirate one. That one was wild. And I was like, dude, I need to. So after that, I've been like brewing up like a pirate story that I want to write just for the sake, maybe like my mailing list or something. And, but so I definitely get things like that. And for Gyro, my whole series is about perspectives. So sometimes I want to pull something, like I want to write like a Predator series that happens on like one of the moons, like something like that. So like I've looked into that, but since it's all about perspective, like when I went into it with the first issue, I was just thinking about like, how do I put everything in this issue that just leaves the door open to create like endless stuff? Kind of like I always mention like A New Hope, because I mean there's infinite amount of Star Wars stuff that Disney is going to just milk now because of one movie, like that basically started it all. And then I think about like to keep it like you know, graphic novel comics wise, and even like indie, the Turtles, like TMNT, like the way those started, like I don't know if anybody's gone deep on the Turtles, but there's like different planets involved, like a bunch of huge stuff that happens in that series. And it all starts from like basically the characters they introduce in that first issue. So I start there, and then like once I have like all those perspectives that I know what I want, to go like individual on like a story or an issue, I break it up in like sections. I use this thing called Scrivener, which if anybody is likes to write, you can do this on Google Docs, but it helps you like separate your chapters. And like you could like tag it on like Docs or Word, but I just use this one Scrivener. I think it was like $40 or something, and you have it for life. But I do that, and so what I'll do is I go through and I'll write like the name of the scene, like like Rotan and his brother have a conflict, like then they fight, like he fights the Reich, and then the next scene and the next scene, and then from there I just go and I fill it in as I go. But I typically like outlining each name of the scene for the whole issue. And then, like, I probably don't even touch it for a day or two. I just think about it. And then I go in and I go for it.
I like what Jason said earlier about the feeling, right? So a lot of horror, I think that's the core of it. And what makes it interesting is, aside, it may be different from a lot of other genres. There's a lot of feeling. It's horrible feeling. It's fear. It's things like that. But it's feeling, right? So that's interesting that you brought that up. Usually for me, I like to write. I usually write the dialogue first. I write the really punchy scenes first, and then I start building around that to weave out the whole story. But it's all based on feeling and emotion first, and then it goes to the other places that connect everything together.
Right, because everybody gets scared. I mean, everybody gets scared on roller coasters, but that's not what you're looking for when you write a scary story. Like there has to be a primal connection almost, there has to be a reason that it makes you scared and ... Sometimes it's scared and jokey and laughy, and sometimes it's scared and uncomfortable. So
and to get that anxiety when you're reading it, the readers have to have some kind of care for the characters you put into it, so that when something happens, you're like, no, don't do that.
Personally, I think the only way, because I've tried like hard to find a book that makes me like nervous, like a comic book in particular, but like it's all emotion. It's all about how you feel about a character in particular. It's not like you're going to get pop scared. You can't. Like nothing,
right? Exactly.
Although I know we've talked about this, Jason, before. Junji Ito, like he has weird, creepy stuff, and that stuff makes you nervous because you're just like, these people are nuts, dude. Like that's the type of scary it is, That's as close as I can get to like.
I'm gonna pop in. We got two people waiting behind the scenes, and we'll get their perspective. I do want to say, as I get ready to pop them in, as I move my mouse here, that with my series, I know that I get stuck. I could just tell and never come to an end, but I knew I needed to come to an end. And so I set 4 issues, and I wrote the ending first so that I couldn't just go down rabbit holes. I could not do it. I want to welcome Dwayne from Animation Comics Entertainment. Hello, sir. Welcome back to the show.
Everybody. What's up?
And I'm going to also welcome at the same time Dan Price from Bigfoot Knows Karate. Dan, let me get this banner off your face.
So if I can add, it seems like we have up to this point, we have a good amount of horror fans in here. And I will freely admit that you guys, I'm sure, have read more horror-based books than me. I'm a humongous horror film fan. What is you all's personal opinion on the phrase elevated horror? First of all, have you heard of it?
No.
What do you mean? No.
I haven't heard of it.
I don't get out much. I work from home. So.
So elevated horror would be movies like Hereditary and
so that fall in the category like Midsummer?
Yes.
I love it. That's one of my favorite horror movies.
Now, I mean, not the movie. I'm talking about the phrase. Let me explain how I feel about it, and we can go from there. I want to write a horror comic, right? I've already started, and my issue with that phrase is, in my opinion, they're all just horror movies. They're just some you put more money into, and some you put less money into.
Sure.
There's, like Mega Shark versus Piranha you see on Sci-Fi Channel.
Great
and then
movie.
there's like actually something, that you'll see in the theaters.
Yeah.
It's still all the same type of movie. It's just one they'll put their money into and one they won't. I love all types. I can watch the corniest. I watched a zombie movie one time where the zombie virus was spread from a rabbit.
Yeah.
That was infected in a lab. And you could tell it was a guy doing this with a rabbit on his hand in front of the camera. Watch the whole thing beginning to end because that's just how I am. But
you know what else is another good example for something similar to that is Cabin Fever.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. That's a good
really
one.
too,
I
yeah.
was thinking Evil Dead, like the
Yeah,
OG.
Evil Dead. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, the rabbit thing made me think of this, so I'm just going to ask it. What was that name of that book series of the vampire rabbit? Do y'all remember that book series?
Bunnicula.
Yes, yes.
What?
Bunnicula.
That's
That was it.
amazing.
Look it up. That
That's
was fantastic.
So I haven't heard that phrase before, the elevated horror.
Mm-mm.
Personally, if I understand correctly, I would buy into that. It seems like there's different ways to do the horror, different ways to write it, and the different emotion that you're pulling out of your audience, right? So if you think about like the Friday the 13th, there's not a whole lot of emotion there. It's jump scares and it's gore, right? It's still entertaining, but in a different way. You have the other movies like Hereditary or some of those higher end horrors, which really go to lengths to pull that dread out of you so that when you're watching it on screen, like I mentioned before, you really have that feeling of, oh my God, don't do that or whatever.
right.
To try to get the audience to really feel and interact as opposed to just sitting on the couch and, laughing at somebody squirting blood out their neck.
I guess by title, I would say I wouldn't immediately say I'm a fan of elevated horror as far as that being something that's got a ton of money and production behind it, because the practical effects done well are a little bit scarier. The Thing is like a perfect example. I didn't see that movie until a year ago or a year or two ago, and it's definitely up there with probably one of my top 2 horror movies.
Oh my God!
Because of how it looks, and it holds up. That movie was made in '82, and because the story is so good, you could care less about that clay model moved a little bit funny. No,
right?
You don't care about that if you were in Antarctica.
Right.
But then there's things like the blood test in that movie, and it's completely psychological and it's completely tense, and it didn't matter who was there or not, because at that point, if Kurt Russell had decided that it was time for all of them to go away, nobody could have done anything about it.
Right.
You're in Antarctica. So no, it was solid movie, and yes, I understand your definition a little bit more, but I don't think it's always necessary.
No.
Well, let's go back to creative process here for a minute, Dwayne and Dan. Give us some insight into your creative process. Who wants to go first?
Is he raised his hand because he's muted?
No, he's showing you.
Me.
Me.
Dwayne. Okay.
The world is thine oyster.
All right. So for me, wow, I was listening to everybody else's creative process, and mine was a little different, to say the least. I've told this story a few times on here and other places, but for me, my story is Nightfall, Michael's Awakening. If I don't know, it's a werewolf action horror type story. And for me, when I first decided to start my company with my brother, we both wanted to, at first we were like, yeah, we're going to get into the superhero genre, but then we decided, maybe let's try to do something else and slowly work our way up to, people starting to really know who we are. And so just kind of really having like a nice little story to really get people knowing our type of way of writing and creativity and things like that, artwork, such things like that. So I was really trying to figure out what I wanted to do. At first, I just wanted to do maybe a mystery or a genre. A drama. So, this was around the time when Twilight first came around. And so,
Oh,
this had the idea
oh
of
no,
thing.
no.
And no, it's a good story, trust me.
Okay,
And
please. I
so,
was just about to hit
everybody
the
was
leave
telling me
button when
about
you
it.
said that.
Yeah, I know a lot of people get scared when I tell a story, but then when it comes to fruition, they go, "Oh, okay, yeah, it's cool." So,
All right.
so I went to go see it because a lot of people was, 50-50 on it. I had some friends, guy friends, surprisingly, and girlfriends that were telling me that, "Oh yeah, it was cool, go see it." So, I went to go see it, and I was like so disappointed on so many different levels, But I did like the whole appeal of like a relationship with supernatural characters involved. So I was like, I kind of like that idea, and then, I've always been a fan of werewolves since very young. I literally have it on my arm. So that was really kind of where the idea of Nightfall really sparked from that. But I saw it as a way of like not just like to bash it and say, oh well, this story is trash, but I was like, this is cool, but I see how I can make it better and put my own interpretation on it, my own style, totally different. So people that read Nightfall, if I
Totally
tell
different.
them,
Don't think it's anything like Twilight. I've read his books.
no, it's
Nothing
not.
like
That's the
Twilight.
thing. A lot of people when I tell them, they go, man, I read your story, and then I go, yeah, did you know it was actually kind of inspired by Twilight? They go, what? No, and I go, yeah, but it's not really all that. It was just that was kind of like the thing that kind of really just said, you know what? I think I'm gonna go with this because I've never seen a story with a Black person or person of color as the main character in a supernatural aspect. So that was what I really kind of wanted to do. I wanted to do something that was totally different. So that kind of just really ignited the flame and really got the ball rolling for my initial story. Although after that, we have other stories, but the Nightfall one was definitely sort of inspired by Twilight, which is always a funny story.
One of the things I like about your story, about your book there, as far as the creative process goes, is how it transitions, right? It starts off in his regular life, and then as he starts to discover who he is, the look of the book changes as well. Yeah. So that was a pretty cool technique.
Yeah, because that to me that was I'm all about multiple reasons for anything. You know what I mean? Not just like a simplistic story or anything that's like, you know what? I'm gonna stop because the guy down or to the left of me didn't even say his part. So you know what I mean? Because I'll go in forever.
I'm listening, man. I say keep going, Dwayne, please.
Oh, okay. I didn't want to, I don't want to, just, but yeah. So for me, I wanted to do something different. I never really saw that in any stories. It's not really put in too many movies. But I wanted people to really have their own interpretation on why it is black and white, and then it slowly goes into color. Of course, it is the reason, like you said, Dan, but there's other reasons why. For me personally, it's a little personal reason because I love black and white. I'm not the best colors, but, for me, inks has always been my jam. So that was always kind of what I wanted to do. But I knew if I did a story that was full black and white, people would be like, oh, this isn't done. You need to hey man, with some color, throw some color in there, So that was another reason. But there's tons of Easter eggs in the story as well that I wanted to do. I felt it was really important to show as much as my personality as possible, but also when people see me face to face, I have more to talk to them about other than just the elevated pitch when I'm pitching a story. So it gets them more invested into the story or wanting to buy it as well. So that was one of the main things about it was really just throwing as much personality and character into the story.
And Dwayne is a fantastic artist. If you've not looked at his books, Dwayne is phenomenal.
I appreciate that.
Dan, not Dan Schmidt, Dan Price. Take us through your latest creation.
Oh my Lord, have mercy. First of all, thanks for letting me crash the party, Brett. Appreciate it. My latest thing that I've been working on is a book called Bigfoot Knows Karate. It is the tale of a gentle cryptid warrior who lives in a world where anyone can be the hunter and anyone can be the prey at any given time. He goes up against Kung Fu Thulu in the here I got a book. Here he goes up against Kung Fu Thulu. Okay,
this is my favorite. Like out of everything, any name, that's my favorite. I love it.
God bless you, Casey Allen, and Casey is my co-writer, and so he goes up against Kung Fu Thulu and in this the cryptid showdown of the century. Think Godzilla versus Kong meets Kill Bill with a really screwed up twist. And thank you, Charlie. The book's a blast. We had so much fun working on this. I'm the creator, co-writer, and artist on the book, and Casey is my co-writer and editor. And we met through a thing called the Comic Jam a while back, and it was and he's a writer and I'm an artist, and we had just clicked, but we never worked on anything real. And it's weird co-writing a project, from a creative. From the creative standpoint, that process of co-writing with somebody, because it's your creation, it's there, but they're putting in on it, and so it's like you've got to balance, because he's a brilliant writer. I mean, he's just a brilliant writer, one of the nicest guys in indie comics, and has another book out called Voodoo Child that's just outstanding. And so we work in tandem with each other. It's a Google Doc. I write in blue, he writes in red. What we like, we put in, we make black, so we finalize it. You know what I mean? And we write over the top of each other. It's pretty funny. And so it's so fluid. I mean, it's so unbelievably fluid compared to anything else I've written, whether it be Latex Avenger, Masters of the Obvious, or anything else I've done. And it makes the process that much more fun, though, I got to tell you, because he thinks of, we'll come up with weird crap. I mean, it's a Bigfoot. He does karate. It's Cthulhu who does Kung Fu. We like weird shit. Pardon my language. But we come up with weird stuff. And he said to me a few days ago, we were talking about a character, and he goes, "You think we're going off the rails on this one?" So, dude, we have a Bigfoot who does karate, man. We went off the rails like on page 2. So
I was just about to say, you don't even have to worry about that anymore. Once you came up with the title, you're good there, bro.
You're good to go, man.
I'll tell you what, man, and I got a chupacabra with a shotgun that's going to knock your socks off in book 2, man. So but it's more than that. We're really trying to build a strong plot, a really strong arc, 5-issue story that just people have gravitated to, and we're really grateful. It's just been amazing. People on Instagram and just been amazing. And the Kickstarter was pretty damn successful, so I can't complain about that. So I don't know. My wife said to me when I got back into doing all this shit, she said, "Have fun, man. I'm having a blast." So it's been that's the best part of the creative process, is enjoying it.
Well, dude,
that's
number
a good
one,
point.
Teamwork is great. So when you have somebody to work together with, that's awesome. The other thing is your title is awesome because it tells you everything you need to know, before you even get into it. Anything I'm mad about my book is my title, just because it's just nobody gets it until you read it. But Bigfoot knows karate. All right, I'm in.
Know what you're getting. Yeah. It's there.
Yeah.
And then the thing about it is, and Brett, I think you got a book. Did you get the?
I got it. Yeah.
Yeah. When you read it, when you get done reading it, it met all your expectations based on the title alone. But then when you get done reading, it's kind of like, what the hell did I just read? In the sense that it kind of did not. It went off the rail. So that's what we were trying to go for anyway. Hopefully we achieved that. We'll see. So in the long term here.
Definitely. People can buy book 1 at bigfootknowskarate.com, can they not?
Yeah, there's a link to our CWS bookstore and website, and then we also got keep looking at the back of the website, because we're doing some exclusives with MephistoComics.com that'll be coming up here pretty soon. So that should be interesting. And book 2, Bigfoot Knows Karate Chapter 2, Born Under a Bad Sign, hits Kickstarter in October. And I've also got another project that I'm doing with Drew Edwards from Halloween Man. We have Halloween Man meets Latex Avenger hitting Indiegogo this summer as well. So if you're not familiar with Latex Avenger, he's my character. He's got a sidekick named Spermicidal Foam Lad, and together they repel crime 99.9% of the time. You can get the idea that this is a twisted story, but it's fun stuff. It's not for kids, but it's cool.
I was gonna say the kids' board book is coming soon.
Yeah, the coloring book. We're gonna make a kids' coloring book for Latex Avenger. It's gonna be fantastic. So
you got to learn at some point.
Oh yeah.
If you're out there watching, I have dropped the link. You can join it. We probably got 10-15 minutes left here. I try to keep the show close to an hour-ish for the podcast. So if you're out there watching, you can still join in. It's got a little bit of time to join in, not much, but a little bit. I do want to remind everybody we are actively recruiting new patrons on Patreon. So you can go to patreon.com/indiecomicsdispatch together and sign up to be a patron for as little as $3. You get exclusive content on indiecomicsdispatch.com, as well as some other perks that'll be coming down the road very, very soon. So guys, I'm in the middle of production on my first full issue of my comic, and it's just like dream come true for me. And so that's kind of all I'm thinking about right now, in addition to 7 kids, full-time job, and running a nonprofit news agency. But other than that,
7 kids.
Yeah, you didn't know that, Lawrence? Yeah, I got 7 kids. That's not an exaggeration.
7.
I have 1 puppy, and it's a lot.
But he looks like the goodest boy. Like I love my dog, but your dog's cute.
Unless you're Amish or have a farm, 7 kids is a lot of damn kids, bro.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. So Lawrence got me distracted.
Sorry, my bad.
You're good, man. You're good. So creative process, yes.
How did you do it?
Well, I kept getting stuck, right? So I plotted out the whole series. I had an overview, and I had book 1 outline, book 2 outline, book 3 outline, book 4 outline. But then when I got into it, I got stuck on the dialogue. What do you guys ever get to a point getting stuck with dialogue or any other point? And if you do, what do you do to overcome it? Alec?
Paul McCartney taught me this. Personally through YouTube. And he said something like, when he writes a song and he gets stuck when he's writing the song, he just leaves it blank or fills in the syllables and then moves on. And I say, and I kind of take that towards my script writing. And I just if I have a thought, I just write all the way through. I don't get stuck. And then, because my writing in general, I say, is editing. Like, anyway, because I just get ideas down the page and then I clean it up after. So just don't stop. That's my advice.
Yeah, dialogue is one of the first things I do. I write as much of the dialogue out because that's what people read on the page, and that's what's going to impact people. So I try to do that. And if I don't know exactly what to write, I write something, right? You write what you want them to say, but not necessarily what you want the audience to read, so that you can go back later and, retouch it and make it the way that it's supposed to sound. So just kind of doing the outline that way for me.
I mean, back to on the dialogue thing. Yeah, I write in dialogue. I'm the same way, Dan. I will, especially if I'm writing a comedy, it's because that's telling the story for the most part. But like, write in all your dialogue, and then what you don't have, just skip that area. And as long as you know the beginning and the end, you can fill in the rest. Is the way I always kind of think about it. So like, I'll start at the beginning, I'll write the end, and I'll kind of work my way through the middle. And just write out all the dialogue furiously, and then paint in the rest of the descriptions later, because I know in my head where all that dialogue's supposed to go anyway. So it's just kind of it's a strange reverse outline, if you will.
Yeah, I just write. I kind of do like you do, Alec. Like, if I have to write 7 paragraphs that I know is probably going to be a sentence or 2, I'd rather have it there, because I know how I communicate with myself. And so I know what I wanted to say is there somewhere. I just have to go back and get it, because if I don't, then it'll be gone forever. So I'd rather just write it all and then remove it as needed.
I'll outline, but sometimes the character, as I'm writing out, where I think the story should go, sometimes the character themselves will just put it in another direction. So if I get stuck on something, I basically leave it alone, but it's always in my head anyway, because my best ideas come when I'm doing the most mundane things. Like I have a repetitive thing I have to do at work, and then bam, it'll come right into my head. I'll have to stop, grab. I always got a pen and a pad or a pencil and a pad somewhere near me at the job, and I'll write it all down, and then I could take it home and I could type it out, and then I'm moving back again. Or I'm always watching movies, so an idea will come to my mind there. But I find it in the mundane, because if I concentrate too much on it, then it'll sound like Peter Cushing or something like that, and it'll be too contrived. So I try to take a step back from it.
I like it. What I finally did to break my barrier to finish script 1 is I started just talking to myself and recording, like doing text to speech while I drove. And I figured it out like just by talking to myself while I drove. I had to have looked insane to the people in traffic next to me, because in Atlanta, you're on the interstate, but you're going 5 miles an hour because it's Atlanta and we have no mass transit.
It probably keeps you safe, though.
It does. It does. Dwayne, go ahead.
That's a glass half full right there. I love that. I love that.
For me, it's kind of it's all in my head, really. If that makes any sense, like the whole story is in my head. I'm like terrified to write it down, because if I write it down, then I'll have another version of the story, and another version of the story, and another version. And then I'll sit down and I'll just like, my God, what do I go with this one? Do I go with this one? But then I can change this part and go back to the beginning. And so I don't write it down. I just keep it in my head and try to keep that as the general story as possible. If there's small tweaks, then when I'm writing it down officially, that's cool. But I try not to write it down because I'm terrified of it. Because I know with my brain, I'll come up with something else, and then I'll like, oh wait, I can do a spinoff, and the spinoff can be that, and then. So I don't do it. I just leave it alone. I just keep it in my brain and let it just fester and just, because for me, I'm more of a visual person. So because I'm as I'm kind of writing it, I'm kind of already seeing how I want it to be drawn. So like as I'm drawing it or as I'm writing it at the same time, sort of, or doing like sort of like a mini storyboard, I automatically come to the other versions of it, and that's so dangerous, because then I'll be like up for like the whole night and just have like 3 different versions of the story, and so I don't do it.
That's true. I never thought about it from an artist perspective. That like once I write it and I send it off to the artist, I can tweak the dialogue, right? Like I can tweak dialogue here and there, but the story is basically set because the panels are set. For you artists in the crowd, man, that must kind of suck, huh?
Yeah, I'm like Dwayne. Like I have those moments where I'm looking at my script that I wrote like 6 months ago, and I'm reading through it and I'm thinking to myself, like, what the hell was the writer thinking? This doesn't work. So I have to go through and change it on the fly. I wrote it and I still don't know what I wrote down in my script.
I mean, it's funny. It's interesting at the same time, but it's very weird, because sometimes I'll look at it and then go, well, why I do that? I just if I gotta draw it, then it won't even make any sense. People won't even know what I'm talking about. Why am
exactly.
No. And so it's like a real crazy kind of conversation with yourself. You're talking back to yourself. I mean, I think as a writer, you kind of have to do that anyway to really make the story go out. You kind of got to read it in like the person's mannerisms and whatnot.
Right.
So you're already having that conversation. So for me, I'm having like 6 other conversations as the artist and the writer, talking to myself like, that don't belong there. No, like when I first decided to do it in black and white, I really was clashing with that as a whole. If I wanted to do the whole story, like have like flashbacks, so it can always be a story where it's black and white or just in color, or just continue with the story. So many conversations, I lost my mind. So I think I need to get committed now. I need to see someone, because I've lost
too many stories in your head.
No, you don't want to do that.
Because for me, like,
you
it
get
doesn't take
committed
much for me to come up with a story. Like I could watch a movie or read a story or anything, see a pretty colors, clouds in the sky, and go, oh wow, you know what? What if an airplane, and then they go into the world? And so for me, I enjoy it though, because it really just kind of gives you more inspiration to continue doing more stories, opposed to just saying Nightfall is going to be my only story. That's why I have so many other stories that I'm trying to get done, because I have so many ideas and I'm just trying to get it all out my head so I can have more. You know what I mean? So for me, that's always been kind of my thing. What's up, Ronnie?
How's it going, Ronnie?
Ronnie.
Well, guys.
All right, everybody. Y'all have a great night, man. It was great meeting all of y'all.
Lawrence.
All right,
Take care.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Lawrence is wrapping us up by getting out of here first. I do want to say, Alex, send me your link real quick in the private chat. I'm dropping Jason's link in the comment section right now. You can pick up his book at his Etsy shop, or follow Fogbreaker Studios wherever Fogbreaker Studios is at.
Wherever fine fake Fogbreaker Studios are sold.
Exactly. I do want to pop up this one more time because we won't do this as much every time, guys. I know, but we are trying to get patrons right now.
You totally should.
Patreon.com/IndieComicsDispatch. You can become a patron for as little as $3 a month, but there are 4 different levels: 3, 5, 10, and 20. That $20 level, as a creator, gets some really great benefits. You get creator shout outs. We will help you promote your project when you have a project that's live, and get invites to live streams and podcast recordings too. So if you're not a patron, you should consider it. Go to patreon.com/IndieComicsDispatch and sign up. Gentlemen, I want to go around one more time, let you each plug your projects and tell people where they can get it. Everything very soon will be in the comment section. Does anybody out there wants to pick up any of the books that we have talked about tonight, you can go to the links that we've dropped in the comment sections, follow these great creators, and learn more about their projects too. Alex is there. Jason, tell us what people can find when they go to your Etsy shop.
Oh, you can find Ransom Notes, Arrested Development. It's a cult horror book that is part comic, part poetry, part prose novelette stories. Just kind of wanted to get some of the quick stories out of the way to kind of familiarize folks with it, because there's a lot that I want to do with this, but I don't know that I'm going to do it all at once, because I was in a cult, but I don't want that to be my prevailing identity as a creator. So I wanted to get this one out and kind of get my existence out so I could get it off my back. There's more coming, but there's something new afoot, so stay tuned for that. There'll be something new I have to talk about very, very soon.
Nice. Let's just keep going around. Alec.
Yeah, so I mean, that'll be my Instagram link, but that will give you a link to like my Beacons page where you can read Gyro on like Global Comics, or you can DM me and we can figure out how to get you the physicals or the digitals that way. But yeah, I got 2 books out right now, or I guess it's kind of 3. This is the set version of the first.
Oh, there you go, Dwayne.
Yeah,
I just got a package from you this week too.
Let's go. So the set version. So the first 2 issues in one, because I'm going to do it in a 2-issue stint. So this is the 3rd issue out now, and it's pretty sweet how this one's told. They're all told through space time, so it goes through different time periods. But basically, the gist is aliens from an alien world are in prison, and the prisoners are sent to Earth, and you get a bunch of different perspectives. But the next, in August on Kickstarter, I have the first side issue of the series. We're calling it Relative Pieces, issue 0. That's actually done with Eamon Cohen, who I know did some artwork for Bigfoot Knows Karate, and that issue will be out in August, along with issue 4, the part 2 of the Mind Tells Tales issue.
Oh, you had Eamon work on something for you?
Yeah.
Oh, Eamon's amazing.
He's awesome.
Oh,
he's great.
He's
super
incredible.
Great guy, super talented. He did a whole issue for me. So it's the first side issue of my series. It's awesome.
Oh man, that's I gotta check that out. That's amazing. Yeah, Eamon Cowan. If y'all don't follow him on Instagram, go check him out. He's out of Ireland. He's brilliant.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, really unique style. It's like digital painting. And I was he found my first issue out there, and then we got to talking. I'm like, dude, I want this dude's art in my series. So
let's keep going to clockwise. Dan Schmidt. 2 Dans. Sorry.
Yeah, so like I said, working on my second graphic novel. If you want to get updates on it as I go along, you can follow me on Instagram at Dan Schmidt Art. It's on my tag here on the screen. You can look up Worms Crawlin' on Facebook. I post the updates there, and you can find me on Facebook as well. And my website is wormscrawlin.com, and you can buy that book as part of my store there too.
Very cool. Dwayne.
Yeah, you can find me in all of my comics, which is the Nightfall series. We recently have the Hollow version, Chrome version of the Nightfall version, issue 1. We also have issue 2 of Nightfall, Michael's Awakening. I'm currently working on issue 3. I'm having some problems with my hand, so trying to get that done before the summer is out. But yeah, so if you like action horror, we also have the Salvation series, which we just finished our variant covers, which is a 0 and 1, available coming soon. So definitely check us out on our website, animationcomicsent.com. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook with the same name, Animation Comics ENT.
Nice. Dan Price.
All right. My name is Dan Price. I do Bigfoot Knows Karate. You can find Bigfoot Knows Karate at bigfootknowskarate.com. It's pretty easy to remember, I hope.
Branding
And
genius.
also you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Danomite139. That's DANOMYTE139. Also, I think that's my TikTok as well, but I barely use it. And if you're on Facebook, you can also go to there's a Bigfoot Knows Karate group on there too. So, come check that out. That's always hopping. And I also work on Latex Avenger. And so I got Latex Avenger meets Halloween, or Halloween Man meets Latex Avenger coming out with Drew Edwards and Paulo Hernandez later this summer, and Casey Allen and myself on Bigfoot Knows Karate. Check him out also at Robots Eat Guitar on Twitter and Instagram as well. Yeah, he's brilliant. It's just a madman of a writer, I tell you. So check, and he also has a book out, Voodoo Child, that's just absolutely fantastic. Thanks for.
Is that on Kickstarter right now, or
Voodoo Child? No, that's they're working on 3 right now. It's they did 1 and 2 over Kickstarter, and did really well with that. And but he showed me pages of 3. Y'all need to check that out. So his
Weren't you nominated for cover of the year for Comic Wellspring?
And he won.
Yeah, so that was our well, I might not my cover, but Adam Caswell's cover. Yeah. Hold on, I'll show you. Yes. Well, so we won the Comics Wellsprings cover master cover contest. I don't know what it was called, but it was fantastic. I mean, I was so stoked. I could not believe that. Adam did this amazing artwork for the book. It was a piece of fan art, actually. He mailed this amazing piece of artwork to me, to my house. And he's like, I'm sending you this as a present. I love Bigfoot Knows Karate and what you're doing. I said, that's crazy. You need to let me pay you for this artwork. And I'm going to run it as a variant cover on our deluxe edition. So the actual artwork is right here. The pen and inks of that. So it's he's actually, so I'm working on book 2 of Bigfoot Knows Karate right now, and then after book 2 is a prequel book that Adam is actually drawing for. It was Adam was one of the I'm sorry, man. I don't know what to say to that. I love you. Adam's doing the interior artwork on that book, on that prequel book, man. So it's going to be really good. And that's it. I yield my time.
Well, thank you everybody for joining. Thank Lawrence. Everybody, thanks for tuning in out there watching and listening to it after the fact on podcast. I am Brett with Indie Comics Dispatch. If you haven't had a chance to check out the Wingless Entertainment Kickstarter, go to winglessent.com/Kickstarter. You can check that out. And that'll also be the destination to go when we launch Immortalis Kickstarter in August. We'll update the URL so it redirects to the proper Kickstarter, but that's always the place to find it. Again, we're here during the summer every other Tuesday, except for next week. We're doing back-to-back because last week my kids had a swim meet, and so we're doing it 2 weeks in a row now. And then Ben O'Grady, who's been on the show before, will be joining us next week along with some other creators, and it should be a fun time. Jason, Alec, Dan, Dwayne. Wow, that sounds like a band name or something. Thank you guys so much for being here this evening. Everybody out there, we will see you next time.
See you.
Good night.